So, a short meditation where you go into your sacred sanctuary, but choose who is it you'd like to summon there, from whose love, whose presence you could truly benefit, from whose blessings you could really find yourself being held, loved, blessed, healed, empowered. Choose, please choose. Could be revered teachers, could be imaginary beings, could be animals. The only limitation is your belief system. Elements of nature, animals living or deceased, people living or deceased, great saints, amazing teachers, as I mentioned, angels. Okay, close your eyes. Once again, focus on your nostril, and for a few moments, simply breathe in and breathe out through the nostril, giving ourselves permission to become more and more relaxed, calm, tranquil. Okay, eyes still closed, letting go of this, and now focusing on your heart. And as you focus on the heart, I'll count numbers 10 to 1. At the count of 1, please allow yourself to be ushered into your sacred sanctuary. And if you remember, it's a place that is absolutely safe, filled with love, healing, magic, you might say, because it is a place of infinite possibilities. Okay, focusing on the heart, getting closer to your sanctuary now. 10, to the heart, going to your sacred sanctuary. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Please find yourself ushered into your sacred sanctuary. Remember, it's a place that could be indoors, outdoors, but it is a place of absolute safety. Look around you. See, sense, feel. It is so beautiful. It is so magnificent. Our souls, our souls love beauty. Please remember, in this place, there is no judgment, no judgment, only love, compassion, mercy. Just being here, it is so calming, tranquil, loving, healing. Please be there. And now look up and summon, if they haven't arrived already, your beautiful inner circle of love, the ones you had chosen earlier. And remember the gateways? Whoever arrives loves you. You trust. And there's an aspiration for living the truth. Love, trust, and truth. They arrive. The members of your inner circle of love. And they're sending you wave after wave, vibrations after vibrations of the sweetest, most exquisite, unconditional love. Some of them, maybe all of them, come and touch you, hold you, embrace you, and you feel touched, held, embraced at such a deep level. Please experience that. And they remind you it is in their nature to love you. And all you have to do is simply be there, very still, basking in the love they have for you. Simply being there open to their unconditional love, giving yourself permission to receive. And as you do, the most amazing vibrations of love, blessings, healing, transformation are flowing into you, deep inside of you, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Please be there, open to receiving. As we are open to receiving once again these divine vibrations of blessings, love, compassion, healing, empowerment are going deep, deep inside of us, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Open to receiving, feeling, grateful, grateful. Feeling blessed, feeling held, feeling loved. Feeling thankful. And now it's time to come into awareness. You can always return here. Say goodbye to each member of your inner circle of love. You thank each one thanks you and blesses you. And please receive that blessing. Ever so gently, as I count numbers coming into awareness. Number 1, coming into awareness slowly, gently. 2, feeling so grateful, feeling blessed, loved, empowered. Number 4, becoming aware that we are the beloved of the beloved. All is perfectly well, no matter how it seems. And number 5, opening your eyes as I do this chant of Bismillah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. La ilaha illallah La ilaha illallah. Ever so gently, opening your eyes. Take your time. Let's do an Om. Deep breath. Twice we'll do it. One more time. Okay, my dear friends, let's let me make a short presentation. Some spiritual insights about suffering, pain, sadness. So the first one is just from a trying to understand perspective, why is there suffering? Why do we suffer? So we might have our own ideas, but as you know, many of you have studied Buddhism. In the Four Noble Truths, the first noble truth is, yes, my dear friends, there is suffering. Actually, the word is dissatisfaction in life. Let us accept it. Let us accept it. There is suffering. And if you remember, noble truth number 2, it's because of our attachment to the world of that which is created. Everything which is created is what? Impermanent. And when things change and we're attached to that, we find dissatisfaction, we suffer. And everything in the created world is bound to change. For me as a Muslim studying the Quran, I like that verse which says, that God says, everything which dwells upon the earth and in the heavens perishes. Is bound to perish. Everything which dwells upon the earth and the heavens is perishing, yet what remains is the face of thy sustainer, majestic, splendid. There is form and there is essence. If we get stuck on form, and when the form changes, we suffer. You remember Rumi's poetry? No matter, Jamal, what plans you make, how much money you acquire, how many titles you attain, the thief will come from the unguarded side. Therefore, focus on that which can never be stolen. Love, compassion, service, justice. And what is the thief? It's up to you to discuss. It's time, it's a change of circumstances, because nothing is permanent. So just be with that. That's one reason why there is suffering. But I want us to have our own understanding. What do I think? There's also, number 2, the traditions say it's a world of opposites. It is a world of opposites. High is defined by low. Sugar is sweet in contrast to vinegar. Again, the Sufi mystics say, God turns you from one feeling to another. God turns you from one feeling to another, so you might have 2 wings to fly, not one. It's a world of opposites. Maybe another reason, which Islamic mystics talk about, don't forget, we have a body, a physical body. And because we have a physical body, we experience sensations. How do I know I'm sad? I feel something in a part of my body. How do I know I'm angry? If you become mindful, attentive, it's because I experience some sensation in a part of my body and I react to that. And some mystics say God purposely gave us bodies so we might really go deep with it, struggle to transform ourselves. Angels don't have to do that. Why? Because they're made out of light. That is why in the Islamic tradition, in the Quran, the angel said, why did you create the human? You could have sent one of us down to earth. And God said, you really? Okay. Choose the best one among you and go down to earth. And two did. Harut and Marut, they're called. They acquired bodies, human bodies. And guess what? According to the Quran and Islamic tradition, they got corrupted. That is why in the tradition it says that the angels are always praying to God, oh, please, God, forgive the human, forgive the human. It's hard to have a body. You get angry, you get sad, you get jealous, you become resentful because you feel the sensations in your body. Therefore, if you master that, you're able to soften it. That's why, remember, sacred holding is so powerful. That technique of sacred holding, for me, it's remarkable. Okay, I'll be quiet now here. Now, my question to you is, what other reasons are there for suffering? We mentioned impermanence, world of opposites, having a human body. What do you think? As the Prophet Muhammad said, yes, listen to all the authorities and scriptures and this and that, but most of all, consult your heart. Consult your heart. Consult your heart. That's the most critical part. Consult your heart. What does your heart say? Okay, just half a minute more. Consult your heart. What do you say? The cause of suffering. Examine your own life. Okay, moving on. Next question, a very important question is, if there is a God, why does God allow so much suffering? If God is all powerful, all compassionate, all aware, why doesn't Spirit, God, do something? We talked about this in the previous classes, but I just want to remind you again, focus on this. Why doesn't the all great Spirit do something? Well, so if you remember, two stories. One is this pious person who travels the world and sees so much of pain, cruelty, tyranny everywhere, all around the world. And one evening, when this saintly person sees a little orphan child covered with the illnesses, dying in the winter cold, nobody take care of this orphan child, this pious person breaks down and cries, oh God, do something, please do something. And I think you know the answer. God says in a vision that night, beloved one, I did do something. I created you. So see how that resonates for you. Okay, the other one, a very important one. Why do bad things happen to good people? Some people really suffer. Good people. I particularly remember, and I've talked about this quite often, this very good man whose wife who died, was suffering from cancer. Very good woman, and he just could not accept it and suffered so much. But this story, he says, gave him a sense of peace. And what was the story, if you remember? That in the Sufi tradition, there's a story of God before God sent humanity down to earth. It's in the Quran, actually, that God gathered all the unborn humanity and said, "Am I not your sustainer?" And we all said, "Yes, yes, we testify." And but then, and this part is not in the Quran, but it's part of the Islamic tradition. I think from African mystical, Sufism, that before God sent humanity down to earth, God took humanity where? To a large, huge cosmic tree. And on the tree, there were packages, some very small, some middle size, some large. And God said, "These are packages of suffering." Remember, it's a world of opposites. Before you go down to earth, you've got to take one of those packages. You can choose any one you want. And the nobler ones among us, they chose the larger packages so others would suffer less. So when these people are suffering, rather than analyze, say, all the great mystics, why this is happening to them, just be grateful, grateful. Serve them with gratitude, help them with gratitude, be of service to them with gratitude. Just be with that story. Or both those stories. Okay, one more point I want to make. This on the Quran, that when you are suffering, like the Prophet Muhammad was suffering because he received no more revelations and his life was very difficult life. And he had given up hope almost. They came down a verse that said, were you not an orphan? A very tender verse, but God gave you guidance. God made you independent. And then it went on to say that, therefore, be not harsh with orphans. Prophet Muhammad was an orphan himself. Be not harsh with orphans. Repulse not the petitioner, the one who asks you for help. And the bounty of thy sustainer rehearse. From this, the mystics have taken the wisdom that particularly when you're suffering, Jamal, you're in a state of suffering, this is the time, and the key words are, according to your capacity, continue with your spiritual practices. Like Rumi says, be in attendance at the divine court, number one. And number two, according to your capacity, continue being of service to others. According to your capacity, be a lamp, a lifeboat, or a ladder, as the mystics say. Don't give up on those. That's the secret. That's when something beautiful happens. You begin to experience a peace within you. And of course, be patient. Just be with that for a few moments. Particularly in times of suffering, can I allow myself to be of service according to my capacity? Continue with my spiritual practices, whatever they are, according to my capacity. Okay, another point. Every tradition says, and we have to be very careful here, that every difficulty has a spiritual component to it. Which is what made, again, I'm quoting the mystics, the dark thought, the shame, the malice, the difficulty, greet them at the door laughing. Each one has been sent as a guide from beyond. But be very careful here, though. Why do I say careful? If somebody is suffering, please don't tell that person, oh, there is some benefit in this. It has to emerge from that person, from within that person. You know, there's a TEDx about this lady who was suffering from cancer, and her husband's a medical doctor, and he had a very important medical doctor visit their house. I think he was staying with them for a few days, and that very well-known medical doctor was telling this lady who had cancer, one day you will thank your cancer because you'll receive such wisdom from it. And she was so upset. She was so angry. It's not for somebody else to tell that person. If there is something, it'll emerge from within me if I'm the person who's suffering. So a beautiful prayer is, I've heard it's Prophet Muhammad, but I couldn't find it in the Hadith, so I think I'll ascribe it to some Sufi mystics. Oh, in times of difficulty, oh God, please save me from its harm. Save me from its harm, but please do not deprive me of its good. Save me from its harm, but please do not deprive me of its good. And you've heard this many times. Don't run towards pain and suffering because it has some wisdom. Just don't run away from it. Don't run towards it. Just don't run away from it. Khalil Gibran says, the more that sorrow, pain, difficulty carves into your being, the more joy it can contain. Again, don't run towards it. It's going to happen in different degrees in your life. Just don't run away from it. Do sacred holding. Just be with that. What are your thoughts about this? What could help you in times of difficulty, suffering, pain? I've mentioned continue being of service, according to capacity, continue to do your spiritual practices. I would definitely add one very important one: community. Building authentic community is critical. Building authentic community in your life, a circle of love. Very critical for me. What else would you say? Is needed in times of affliction? What works for you? Some will say, and I'm continuing, you've got to have faith in something higher than human personality, greater than human institution. You simply have to have faith. Really, if you break it down, what they're saying is you've got to have faith in something which you cannot prove, something in the invisible world. But to build faith, as we have discussed in the previous classes, you've got to move, as the mystics say, from borrowed certainty to an inner knowing. From borrowed certainty to an inner knowing. It has to emerge from within you. And that's a whole session by itself. How do you build faith? How do you build faith? What are the different stages for you to build faith? You know, the Quran says, number one stage is hearsay. You hear from other people. You got to believe in God. You got to do this, that. That's great. But number two is what is called exploration. Explore this in life. You've got to taste this through experiences in life. Is it really true? And number three stage is it has to emerge from inside of you. That's when it's real, the faith. How do you build faith? What is your experience? And you must understand what faith is. Prophet Muhammad said, Prophet Muhammad said, yes, the Quran says trust in God. Of course. If God, I'm quoting the Quran now, if God helps you, nobody can overcome you. And if God forsakes you, who is there who can help you? I remember this verse from the Quran, whoever submits his whole self to God, and the next part is important, and is a doer of good, that person has grasped the most trusty handhold. For with God rests the final outcome of all endeavors. But how do you build this faith? And you've got to do your part. I think we have repeated this story many, many times when a Bedouin going to pray in the mosque had his camel and he said, should I tie the camel to the post before going to prayer, or should I just trust in God? And you know what Prophet Muhammad said? First, tie your camel to the post, then trust in God. So we must do our part. What does that mean to you? First, tie the camel to the post, then trust in God. Just be with it for a few moments, and I'm noticing that I have to bring it to an end, but I just want to spend 3 more minutes, so I'll forego some of the other points I had. But let us now focus on balancing this. We're talking about the difficulties, the challenges, the pain we have been suffering. Now, what about becoming aware of the blessings in our life? Can you spend a few moments, as the Quran says, which of your sustainers' blessings will you deny? Because one of the greatest problems a human being has, we take everything for granted. And the most beautiful exercise is to develop a practice where you don't take that which is just given to you, gifted to you, for granted. You remember the story which has gone viral, the person who suffered from COVID and then went on this ventilator and survived. It's a true story. And then when the bill came, it was like $20,000 or something, some huge number. But he was not distressed by the bill that came. He was just awakened. Oh my goodness, I had taken this breath for granted. It has been given to me for free. And only when I lacked that breath have I become aware of the simple price. It's expensive, but I've just taken it for granted. So just become aware of what are your blessings in your life, because we take it for granted. And I'm going to repeat the story of Rabia, that 8th, 9th century beloved female saint in Islam. To repeat that story, true story, she met this man who had this turban, this turban all around his head, made like a bandage. He was going, ooh and ah. She said, what is the problem? She was groaning with pain. This terrible migraine I have. And he was just saying it so loudly, telling everybody, this is terrible, terrible. I would just wish this pain would go away. And she said, I'm really sorry for your pain, but I want to ask you a question, if you don't mind. When you had a blessing in your life, something good in your life, did you also wear a colored turban around your head and dance up and down in celebration to thank God for this blessing? Why didn't you do that also? So that's a lesson for us. So my question to you is, can you find a ritual, a prayer, a mantra where you express gratitude? Because remember that saying, both in Sufi tradition, Native American tradition, if you are giving thanks even in times of difficulties, you are giving thanks for unknown blessings already on their way. You see, for Muslims, there's a prayer, oh God, every time something good happens, like, the traffic jam eased, oh God, thank you for all your bounties. This is from the Quran. Thank you for all your bounties, seen and unseen. Thank you for all your bounties, seen and unseen. My favorite one is, I say it all the time, oh God, favor upon favor have you bestowed upon this handful of dust. Favor upon favor have you bestowed upon this handful of dust. What prayer can you make to really honor the blessings at every turn? It doesn't have to be huge, but if you make it a habit, you'll be surprised how many doors will open up for you, literally and metaphorically, just because you have a practice of, at every point, thanking mystery for your blessings. Okay, with that, I shall become still now, quiet now. Just be very still. And Shailaji, you've got those questions.